What's up, gals and pals? It's your boy Vino. Now, this past Valentine's Day, I celebrated a birthday, but I wasn't alone. My buddy Gnome over at Gnome's Tavern also happens to be born on Valentine's Day. Now, here's the thing about Gnome. Gnome is from NOLA, New Orleans. And with Mardi Gras just around the corner, I said, who better to celebrate my birthday and Mardi Gras with than my man Gnome. So today we're gonna bring you guys 4 delicious New Orleans cocktails to celebrate Fat Tuesday. So make sure you stick around because we're gonna boogie down. The first American Mardi Gras took place on March 3rd, 1699, when a couple of French explorers landed near present-day New Orleans. They held a small celebration and named their landing spot Pointe du Mardi Gras. In the decades that followed, New Orleans marked the holiday with street parties, mass balls, and lavish dinners. However, in 1763, when the Spanish took control of New Orleans, they abolished these celebrations. That's until Louisiana became a U.S. state in 1812. In 1857, a secret society of New Orleans businessmen called the Mystic Crew of Commerce organized a torchlit Mardi Gras procession with marching bands and floats, setting the tone for future public celebrations in the Big Easy. Other celebratory customs include throwing beads, wearing masks, and eating king cake. Mardi Gras would go on to become such a big part of New Orleans culture that it is the only state in the U.S. in which it is a legal holiday. All right, folks, so there you have it. A little bit of history about Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Now, unfortunately, I cannot put all of the rich history of Mardi Gras in New Orleans into a YouTube video, so I strongly suggest you guys go out there and do a little bit of research. It's a really fun and fascinating history, or do even better and go down to New Orleans during Mardi Gras. And while you're down there, say hello to my buddy Gnome. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Gnome, how you doing, pal? Anyway, folks, speaking of rich history, the first cocktail I'm gonna make you guys is called a Sazerac. Now, if you've been drinking for more than 10 minutes, I guarantee you have heard or had a Sazerac. Now, this is a cocktail that goes back to the 1800s, and many say that it was started using cognac and then eventually turned into rye, and a lot of times now you'll find a split-based version of the Sazerac, which is my personal preference, so that's how we're gonna make it today, right, folks? So speaking of that, let us look at what is in the sauce. The first thing we're gonna need is 1 ounce of rye. I'm gonna be using Rittenhouse rye, which is really my favorite rye to use in mixing cocktails up, and I really like it inside of a Sazerac. All right, so we're gonna do 1 ounce of rye. Okay, the next thing we're gonna be doing is 1 ounce of brandy. I'm gonna be using cognac because this is a Sazerac, you know, the whole French theme. All right, so I'm gonna do 1 ounce of brandy. All right, or more preferably, so we don't make the Mardi Gras and New Orleans gods upset, use some cognac. All right. Then we're gonna do 3 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. 1, 2, 3. This is a very traditional New Orleans bitters, so we're gonna make sure we use that, all right, folks? Then, now the next thing we're gonna do is 1 bar spoon of simple syrup. Now, some will argue that you should be using a sugar cube. You know, it's one of those debates like with the old fashioned. Now, with an old fashioned, I do like to use a sugar cube, but with my Sazerac, I do prefer to use a simple syrup. And I'll show you why at the end of the video. Hopefully I remember to tell you. All right, folks. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some ice to our mixing glass. All right. And then we're gonna stir that real good. We're gonna do 25 to 30 seconds, all right? All right, folks, I think we stirred this bad boy up enough. Oh, I can tell this is gonna be as delicious as I hoped, all right? So let's put this to the side here. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get our glass out, okay? I'm gonna be serving that into a rocks glass, which I had here chilling like a villain. All right, got a little bit of ice in there. Let me get that out, all right? Now, the thing about a Sazerac, which is really interesting, is you're gonna be serving that up in your glass, in a rocks glass, not into a cocktail glass, all right, folks? Now, but before we do that, what I do wanna do is you wanna get a rinse of some absinthe in there, okay? So you wanna add some of them anise notes to your cocktail, all right? So we're just gonna do a little rinse of absinthe. I'm using my thing over here. And then we're gonna pour that into our glass, all right? Like I said, no rocks, just straight up into a rocks glass. Oh yeah, I've always liked the way this looks. I think it's pretty, you know, just a nice, you know, amber hue and this beautiful, you know, glass here. Forget about it. Now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get a lemon peel. All right. Beautiful. And then we're gonna express the oils into the drink here. We're gonna rub it onto the glass. And then we're gonna discard it. We're not gonna actually dump it into there, right, folks? And there we have it, folks, a traditional Sazerac cocktail. All right, so before we hand it off to my man Gnome to see what he makes as his first New Orleans cocktail, let's give this bad boy a sippy sip. Cheers. Happy birthday, Gnome. Cheers. Oh, you got the lemon notes right up top, which is always nice and refreshing, you know? Oh, this is such a fantastic cocktail, guys. Its simplicity is what makes it so great because it allows all the different notes of the cocktail to really like go on display. You know, you get the spiciness from the rye, you get those nice kind of chocolate and vanilla notes, you know, from the cognac, and the Peychaud bitters just add some nice real herbal notes to it. This is just a delicious cocktail, folks. And I can see why this has stood the test of time. All right, folks? Well, anyway, that's it. Gnome, let me see what you got, my brother.
Hey, welcome to 62 Second Cocktail. I'm the Gnome, and I'm here in New Orleans, and we're here to make some great cocktails to celebrate a time where you can be laissez-faire, where you can dance in the street and people will join you instead of thinking you're a tad crazy. Now, I'm going to make 2 cocktails for you, Vino, and one of them I don't think you really know or have ever had, because we're going to use Ojen, a Spanish spirit that was very popular in the Rex parade. No, not that Rex. Rex! And in fact, the distributor of Ojen convinced the higher-ups in Rex that the fanciest drink Ojen, and all the other people drink champagne. And actually, the lieutenant of the parade at one point was the only person that could drink Ojen. But sadly, the New Orleans love for Ojen could not keep it alive, and before it was about to die, a retail store in New Orleans, Martin's Wine Cellar, convinced the distiller to distill one big batch, and they bought up it all, and it lasted all the way up to 2009. After that, the company Sazerac Company, that owns Buffalo Trace, Pappy Van Winkle, Fireball, decided to buy the rights to Ojen and produce it for the city of New Orleans. And we're gonna make that great Ojen cocktail in the frappe style, which was later the more acceptable one. So this is a stirred drink, and we're gonna do 2 ounces of our Ojen. Ojen is a very licorice flavor, but it's very sweet. I always say it reminds me of a jelly bean, and when you finish the end result of the drink, you're definitely gonna see how it's like a jelly bean. And we're gonna do 1/4 of an ounce of simple. I usually keep simple syrup out of my Ojen, but I wanted to show you the traditional way because this drink is pretty sweet. And then we're gonna do 5 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. I told you, we're very New Orleans. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Extra one for good measure. Now we're gonna throw some ice in there and we're gonna stir her up. All right. Now that we stirred it up, let's pour it out into our fine glass. Oh, some ice cubes escaped. But that's okay, laissez-faire, right? And we're gonna pump up that ice. And usually we do it with a lemon zest, but I have this big lemon wheel, so we're gonna put in that giant lemon wheel. And this is the Ojen cocktail. Let's give it, as they say up north, a sippy sip. It is very licorice. It tastes just like a jelly bean. It looks like a jelly bean. It's super pink. This is one I actually serve more on Easter than I serve Mardi Gras. But it's a great drink. Now back to you, Vino. I think you have another New Orleans classic I'm interested in drinking.
All right, well, there you have it. My man Gnome bringing the New Orleans funk. My man, I knew I could trust that guy to bring me a good New Orleans cocktail. All right, now, in terms of what I'm making for my second cocktail, I'm gonna be making another classic stirred cocktail called the Vieux Carré, right? Now this is a cocktail that goes back to the 1930s, and like the last cocktail, it is going to be a split base between cognac and rye, and Vino likes that very, very much, all right? Now let's look at what is in the sauce. The first thing we're gonna need is 3/4 ounce of cognac, all right, folks? So you're gonna wanna use brandy, preferably some French brandy, all right? Because it is New Orleans and it is Mardi Gras. Next thing we're gonna need is 3/4 ounce of rye, all right? Once again, I'm using Rittenhouse rye, but you guys go ahead and use whatever you got in stock. Don't let Vino peer pressure you into using something you don't have. Now we're gonna do 3/4 ounce of sweet vermouth. I'm using Carpano Antica. I mean, for my money, this is the best, sweet vermouth you're gonna find in the market. For the money at least. Right, and then we're gonna do 1/4 ounce of Benedictine. Now, some people will say Barspoon, and some people will say 1/2 ounce. So, do whatever you like in terms of your tolerance of Benedictine. I happen to think this is the perfect proportion, all right? Then we're gonna do 2 ounces of Angostura bitters. 2 dashes. Did I say dashes? I can't remember if I said dashes, but 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and 2 dashes of the New Orleans favorite Peychaud bitters. 1, 2. All right, perfect. All right, so that's it, folks. Now let's go ahead and add some ice to our mixing glass. All right. And we're gonna stir that for about 25 to 30 seconds. All right, folks, I think we stirred this bad boy up enough. Oh yeah, that is a bomb. That is the bomb right there. All right, so let's go ahead and get our glass out. Once again, we're gonna be serving this in a rocks glass, which I've had chilling here, like a villain. It had a little ice stuck in it. I'm gonna take that out. And then we're gonna go ahead and add some fresh ice to our glass. All right, there you go. You can use a big square if you like. I tend to like it in this one here, and a bunch of ice, all right? And then we're gonna go ahead and pour that into our layers. Look at that. Once again, there's nothing I love more than some beautiful amber color on my cocktails, all right? And then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a lemon peel here. We're gonna garnish it with a lemon peel, all right? There you go. And then we're gonna just spread some oils onto the glass, rub it for good luck. And then this one we are gonna actually use as opposed to the last one, which we threw away. We're just gonna put that right over here onto the glass. And there you have it, folks. Another New Orleans classic for Mardi Gras, the Vieux Carré. All right, so before I hand it over to Noam for our last cocktail of the video, I'm gonna go ahead and give this bad boy a sippy sip. Right in the nose, once again, you get those beautiful lemon aromas. Let's give it a sip here. So delicious. This is very reminiscent of a let's call it a New Orleans Manhattan. You know what I'm saying? You do have the your base spirit, you have your sweet vermouth, and then you're throwing in the bitters and stuff. But then you're also adding that Benedictine, so you're getting a lot of spices, a lot of really good herbal notes on this too. This is just a delicious, and you can see again why 1930s, guys, 1930s. Why these classics have stood the test of time. All right. So Noam, hit us off with our 4th and final cocktail.
Oh, shoot, yes, you're back. I was enjoying watching the show. Let's start and talk about the hurricane. Now, the hurricane's history starts off with Pat O'Brien and his business partner both wanting whiskey, and whiskey was really hard to come by after Prohibition, and their distributor said, I'll give you a case of whiskey, but you have to buy 12 cases of rum. And he was like, well, I don't need 12 cases of rum. And the distributor said, what if I throw in some glasses? Not seeing what the glasses were, he accepted the deal. And he got 12 cases of rum, 1 bottle of, I believe, scotch, and a bunch of these glasses, the hurricane glasses. Now, the reason they're called the hurricane glass is not because New Orleans is known for getting hit by hurricanes. Trust me, I've lived through a few of them. It's because of the way the glass is. It's what held the candle would sit in here, and wind would not put the candle out during, let's say, a hurricane. And that's where that glass got its name. Now, the hurricane I'm gonna do today is the hurricane we make at the distillery I work at Happy Raptor, except I couldn't find passion fruit juice, so I'm gonna make a mango hurricane. And since it is the season, I'm gonna show off our king cake rum. Because what's more New Orleans than rum and king cake? King cake is a festive drink during Mardi Gras where there's a little baby inside, and if you get the baby, you have a financial responsibility of buying the next king cake. So let's start this drink. This is my recipe. We are gonna do 3 ounces of rum because we're here for a good time, not a long time here in New Orleans. So 3 ounces of your favorite rum. Now there's also the way you can buy the Pat O'Brien mix and just add rum to that if you're in a hurry. That's our king cake rum. Now normally this would be 2 ounces of passion fruit juice, but I'm going to use mango juice, which I do enjoy a nice mango hurricane. And then we're going to do an ounce of orange juice, freshly squeezed right over here. So an ounce of mango juice. Now we're going to do half an ounce of lime juice. It's got a lot of juices in this drink, a lot of juices. That's 1. Yes, I've had many hurricanes in my life, and I've made so many hurricanes that I actually know this recipe by heart. And then we're gonna do half an ounce of simple syrup. Every bachelor party or bachelorette party that comes into the bar, I have made at least 5 hurricanes for every party in New Orleans. And then 3/4 of an ounce of Grenadine, but instead of Grenadine, I'm gonna use the Happy Raptor Hibiscus syrup. It's a syrup that we make here at our distillery. It uses hibiscus, lime, and it adds a little bit of more than just sugar. It adds a nice sour note and a floral note that goes really great with these tropical notes of the mango and the orange. All right, now let's shake it up and pour it out. And let's take our fine hurricane glass and we are gonna pour it into the glass. Now, partly the recipe of the hurricane came to be because Pat O'Brien was looking for someone to figure out how to fit enough rum and enough stuff into this glass so that way people didn't think he was ripping them off. And they had a cocktail competition, and the recipe that won was with passion fruit syrup and rum and lime juice, and I believe one other ingredient, but I can't place my finger on that ingredient. So we're gonna fill it up with nice ice, make it look really pretty, grab ourselves a straw, and garnish it with a big orange wheel. And there we go, the hurricane. There's a storm a-coming. Well, let's give it a taste. Polar opposite from the Ojen. It's got live fruity notes. The cinnamon and the orange and the vanilla come through from this rum, really pop those other flavors. And the mango makes me feel tropical. So I hope you enjoyed these New Orleans drinks, and you can check out my channel, The Gnome's Tavern. We make wacky drinks all the time. I am known as the guy who puts Malort in everything, so make sure you tune in and watch. And the most important thing is to always tip that bartender. Thanks for having me on, Vino, and I'm in for a long night and a great Mardi Gras season. That was weird.
Thank you, Gnome, for another delicious cocktail. And there you have it, guys. 4 delicious New Orleans cocktails just in time for Mardi Gras. But you can have these cocktails any time of the year, folks. Don't let Mardi Gras be the only time you enjoy these delicious cocktails. All right, now look, guys, if you guys have not subscribed to my buddy Gnome, go ahead and do so. I put a link down in the description so you guys can go ahead, subscribe, and say hello for Vino. All right, folks? Well, look, if you like this video, please press like, please subscribe, and please share with your family and friends. Remember, sharing is caring, and when life gives you lemons, make yourself a cocktail. Cheers.
Now I squeeze this orange.
Courtney, we're live! So I'm talking about Vietnam. Start singing Fortunate Son over here.